Hey, lovely people, a pleasant afternoon to you. Beautiful people, I saw something on the Jamaica Observer's site. Not quoting it verbatim, basically, it's almost like it's saying, be on the lookout, Cougars on the prowl. So you have these older women, older in comparison to the ages that I'm going to mention, 30s and 40s, who are going to sporting events, seeking out young boys, basically for sexual pleasure and whatnot. It's really, sometimes you wonder to yourselves, what is really and truly going on in the minds of people? I remember some years ago, both the Gleaner and the Observer had published this thing that 40% of the people are suffering from some mental challenge, mental illness, mental difficulty, mental trauma. You understand what I'm saying. And it is obvious that this is really coming to the fore. Because for the life of me, I cannot fathom how you can feel comfortable as a big woman when you're in your 30s and your 40s, you're a proper adult. And even 50s, 60s and going on, and seeking out boys who are maybe 16, 17, probably even younger. I don't care if they look monstrous. They could look like Godzilla or King Kong a little more. God made men with because of their testosterone and the nature of them being males. Some are going to come out very alpha in their look, very built, very big and muscular. But you have to tell yourself that this is a little boy, this is a young boy, still not fully developed. Even if his full body parts are developed, even if his thing it starts from here and the end of the length of it goes from Kingston to Spanish Town, he's still underdeveloped. It doesn't matter how massive his thing is. It doesn't matter how built his body is. He's still a child. One of the things that I'm going to give God thanks for is my mother. Because from I was young, Jesus, it is important for people to teach their children from their young. And, it's like a rivet in them. You make sure that it's like it's encapsulated in their soul. She said, Toni-Ann, do not go for anybody who is younger than you, because men are harder to age than women. We're not talking like if they're sick and sickness will age you, whether you're a man or woman, because men tend to not be caring, men kind of don't care, and them no business, and they don't put things on their heads. They just cut off things if it bothers them too much. How men operate, generally speaking. So they're harder to age, though their longevity is not as long as women. It's ironic. So sometimes a man will tell you that he's 50 and he say, what? Him look like like him just brushed 30. And this big old steering woman who is mature, sensible, probably has a child at that age or older than that boy, and you're going to sporting events seeking these boys, you've got to be off the devil. You and Jezebel are the best of friends with the same personality and the same characteristics. Delilah and you went to all school together and were in classes and sat side by side. Because I cannot fathom how you are comfortable doing this. You're a pedophile. And the hypocrisy is that when it is the men who are doing it, oh my God, with chant, fire, brimstone, they ought to be locked up. They're evil, they're wicked, which they are. Don't get me wrong. They are when they do this to our girls and our boys. But you are equally as wrong. We tend to give women passes, I realize, in a lot of things. And that is why you find, especially with catfights with women being against women, all they do is say, oh, just women. Don't say that, because a number of us women are not in support of those kind of catfights, because they're usually birthed out of jealousy and envy in malicious and malignant ways, because a woman is jealous of another. So don't bunch all of us into that thinking that we're a part of that, because I never did that to any other woman. I never did that to any woman. And my mother taught me, she said, Toni-Ann, if you have to go, me take go for your older man. Yes, they might pop down, cataract kill them, low libido, The erectile dysfunctionality is the order of the day. You know, you wonder if anything really exists, how they urinate. You know, they probably have to put on a catheter. We understand all of that. You have to find ingenious ways to pleasure yourself as a wife. Because I guarantee you, those 30 and 40-year-olds, they're more than likely not single women. They're more than likely not single women. I say more than likely. Right? And because your husband has low libido, erectile dysfunctionality, you know, maybe he was castrated, or something had gone wrong, you know, or there is nothing there, literally and figuratively, you decide to go and prowl and pray, P-R-E-Y, P-R-E-Y, for those who may not know, you know, like a serpent, a snake under the grass coming up, you know, with your wolf self in sheep's clothing. With your wolf self in sheep's clothing. You women are horrible. That's terrible. From when I was in my 20s, you had boys who were younger than me making move. I said, pick a nigga, sit down. Go hold your corner. But nobody did this a little pit there. I said, behave yourself and stop your foolishness. I'm going to read 2 books. Stop your eyes. I don't care if they look like GQ out of a magazine. I do not care if, as I said, their body's built to go and do the bodybuilding thing. Here is still a child. Here is still a child. Here is still a child. And I can now understand why some of these men are angry at women. Because you know what happens? When they're so vulnerable and you go and you prowl on them and you take them as a prey. And you end up, when you realize now that they're becoming, you know, clingy and obsessed and all of that, you know, you just discard them because you probably don't want your husband to get rid of them or whatnot. And then it ends up making them think that women are just evil and wicked. The reverse is, when they see your body popping down and they look old and weak and shriveled up like prunes or raisins, they discard you, it hurts you, you try to get rid of them. So either way, the malady is horrendous. It is horrendous. It is horrible. It is evil. Stop it, women, for those who are doing it. Go and get help. Seek help. It is not normal. It is not natural. Those are children. It doesn't matter how big they could have been, bigger than Goliath, where Goliath himself shudder when he sees them. It doesn't matter. They're children here. They're young here. They're not fully developed. They're not even developed enough to hold a relationship with a young girl in their age range. You know, they're not even developed. And that is why you see them move from relationship to relationship, which I don't even crucify them too much on. The only thing that I would say is that parents ought to tell them to try and, you know, don't be like that. Don't sow their royal oats with any old Jane and Jill, because that carry that kind of attitude and spirit even when they get married. And that is why you find that it will be easy for them to engage in extramarital affairs, because that habit continued with them. Yes, they can date to see who they like, you know, but you have to, even that they have to balance. There must be balance in everything. But a big 30 odd, 40 odd, 50 odd, 60 odd, 70 odd, 80 odd, 90 odd, 100 odd, 200 odd, 300 odd, 400 odd, 500 odd, 600 odd, 1,000 odd, 2,000 odd year old woman. What you going looking for teenagers? Or early 20s? Teens to early 20s. Because and those are not early 20s. Those are in the teens. Maybe 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, thereabout. You're going to these school events. I wouldn't even... Father God. I hope they deal with you guys and hold you to the books. Just as how they hold the men to the books. Because when they do it, we beat them, go and come. We have no mercy on the men who are predators. You're a predator as well. How could... I mean, when you look and you see a little boy, you hear him talk. It don't matter if he even want to talk like he's mature. Him just putting on a show and putting on a voice. Psychologically and emotionally and mentally, he's not. And a big old steering tough back woman like you going for these young men, when they come my way, I say, behave yourself and go and sit down and stop your foolishness. It doesn't mean that my eyes don't see how they look, but I keep look here. So stop it. Stop it. In Jesus' name. Guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe.